My thanks to all the people that are attending here. And on a personal note, this feels a little bit like a class reunion with several of you in the SEA community. And I congratulate you for continuing the journey towards software excellence. And a shout out to all my former colleagues from AIS and HP who may be attending. And these are people from whom I learned a lot about managing software teams and teams that consistently delivered extremely high quality software solutions. Today, I'm honored to be part of a panel with two esteemed colleagues, Dr. Dana Elliott. She's the Senior Fellow at the Urban Institute, which is a global thought leader in apprenticeships, as well as Dr. Nicholas Swain, who is the Chair of the Department of Computer Science and Mathematics at South Carolina State University, which is a premier historically Black college and university in South Carolina. And with both of these individuals, I've had the good fortune of collaborating on this journey during the past 3 years, and we're still counting. And our topic today is designing and launching secure software development and cybersecurity degree apprenticeships, partnering with historically Black colleges and universities. It's a progress report on an innovation pilot in South Carolina, which we plan to follow up with HBCUs nationally. And quick clarification at the beginning, for those of you who may not be familiar, apprenticeships are what we call a learn and earn dual model. And students are apprenticed and mentored by employers with on-the-job learning while they're enrolled in a degree program. And so here's how we're going to go about with the panel presentation today. I lead off with some data on the cybersecurity crisis and try to impress on you why we need to take action now. And Dr. Elliott will give an overview of the innovation features of the HBCU consortium pilot in South Carolina, as well as the roles and responsibilities of industry and academia in the apprenticeship model. And Dr. Swain will do a deep dive into the NICE framework. NICE, by the way, is the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education. And they developed a framework, and he'll talk about that and the relationship of that to college curricula for bachelor's degrees in computer science and, say, cybersecurity. Next slide. We believe we have a significant opportunity to transform many thousands of lives, focusing in this case particularly on women, minorities, and people of color. And we'll do this by launching several apprenticeship cohorts impacting communities across the country with a replicable model. It is an outrageous commitment, and which is what's called the software process evolution that he was doing. Watts Humphrey, many of our gurus, for many of us for whom he's a guru. But anyway, it is, I believe it's an outrageous commitment. But we have an excellent chance of achieving it. I will also add that our goal is not just to get people an entry-level job, but to make sure that they have the foundation for a successful career. I think you'll agree with me that, generally speaking, employers prefer to promote people with at least a bachelor's degree over people who may have the technical skills but not a college degree. So I'll begin by sharing some data with you. And you know what we used to say in the good old days, in God we trust, everybody else brings data. And so next slide. So as you can see here, you have the numbers here in terms of the job openings. And many of you, I'm sure, have heard about the fact that many of you heard that the next Pearl Harbor may be a cyber attack on our nation's critical infrastructure, and that poses an existential threat. And so I'm calling it a cybersecurity crisis when you consider that we have an increasing shortage of skilled professionals who can develop software which is secure from cyber attack or provide general cybersecurity support, such as vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, etc. And as I'm sure in this group, many of you are aware and are passionately working to solve the fact that more than 80% of cyber attacks are due to defects in software, which become vulnerabilities that can be exploited to launch cyber attacks. And by the way, if you're not familiar, I encourage you to look up the Consortium of Information and Software Quality, CISQ-CISC. It's it-cisc.org, the URL. It's led by Dr. Bill Curtis, and they've done an amazing job of creating standard classifications of what they call common weakness enumeration, CWEs, the vulnerabilities, and so on. And it's sort of somewhat touching the subject that we're talking about here. Full disclosure, I'm on the governing board of CISC. Anyway, so here are the numbers of job opening for cybersecurity related positions and software development from October 2020 through September 2021. And this is from the CyberSeek heat map, which has the data on job openings by state and by metro area. And they get this by scanning the internet for the help wanted posts, and then they compare that with jobs openings with the Bureau of Labor data on number of people currently employed in these professions like software development and cybersecurity, and kind of give you a picture of the increasing demand as well as the lack of supply to meet that demand. And so as you can see here, the numbers of the openings for software development are more than twice that of cybersecurity jobs. Both the numbers have been increasing year after year, and CyberSeek also gives us the top 10. I will list the top 5 here. Job titles that employers have listed at their help wanted post. And so some of the takeaways from this slide is this: while not having these jobs filled is a significant problem, but it's also an opportunity to create hundreds of thousands of entry-level jobs that are among the highest paid positions that we have in entry-level jobs. The other takeaway is that there are significant variations among employers in the way they describe a job or call it what they're supposed to be and so on, the job titles, as well as the knowledge, the skills, the ability, the KSAs that are needed to do the tasks that are required of the job. The nice cybersecurity framework is an excellent attempt to create the standard listing of competencies and KSAs, and Dr. Swain will talk more about that. Next slide. And lack of diversity is another cause for this cybersecurity crisis. And as very bluntly stated here, a disproportionately high number of white males work in cyber. And if you drill down, look at the data, the cybersecurity workforce is not only disproportional, it's unsustainable in my opinion. Only 14% of females are in the cybersecurity workforce. In the cybersecurity workforce, only 14% are females. Only 9% are African American, 8% Asian, and 4% Hispanic. So as you look at this data, I think you'll agree with me that doing nothing is not an option here. Excuse me. By the way, these numbers vary from study to study, and I took the data from this Forbes study, and the takeaway here is that the studies show consistently that and repeatedly that the diverse workforce outperforms the non-diverse workforce. And we actually evidenced it firsthand in AIS in the old days, where the joke was our affirmative action plan was to recruit more white males. So, but the point is, seriously, there is business value in diversity, and we should take that very seriously and start creating these jobs. Next slide. This is my take on what we mean by transforming lives, which is the transformation from the status quo, the as is, to what we want it to be, and how the degree apprenticeship model actually is the catalyst to make that thing happen. In the current environment that we have, up to 40% of students never complete the degree. So our education system is not helping a lot of people out there. And whereas in the to-be model, the degree apprenticeship cohorts will have a completion rate as high as about 90 plus degrees, 90% higher who will actually complete the degree. On average, in the current environment, college graduates take 3 to 6 months to find employment after graduation. And apprentices, on the other hand, are guaranteed employment upon graduation, subject to, with the employer that apprenticed them, subject to the openings being available at the time they complete the degree. And we know that the majority of college graduates in the current environment are more likely to be underemployed, but they are underemployed and unemployed in jobs that don't require a bachelor's degree, or what I would call low-skill jobs. And where we want to be is that the majority of the apprentices earn wages upon graduation, having a job, and earn wages commensurate with the skills that they have, as well as earn wages while they're in college, which also helps to offset student loans. And student loans, the average student debt today is over $40,000 per student, and again, not sustainable. So let me finish my part here by taking you one last slide here, which is to, next slide, please, which is to show that there is a continuum of work-enhanced learning models out there that employers use and colleges collectively. And at the bottom, we have what we call the low enhancement, which is where the involvement of the employer is low, as well as the depth in which the students get the knowledge of the skills is also low. And from that continuum, the highest enhancement value add is with apprenticeship. And it is now very clear that these other models, these other enhancement models, learning models are good, and maybe they need to continue, but they don't actually provide the value to the job seeker and the employer as apprenticeships do. So with that intro, let me turn it over to Dr. Diana Elliott to talk about the involvement of the Urban Institute in this initial pilot that we have in South Carolina. Please, Diana.
Thank you, Girish. Really appreciate it, and it's great to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. Great. I'm going to go ahead and share a little bit about the Urban Institute, who we are, and how our role has worked in terms of the efforts of Girish and of South Carolina State University, which Nikunja will share in a moment. So as Girish said, I'm Diana Elliott. I'm a senior fellow at Urban Institute. We are a nonprofit policy organization based in Washington, D.C. And while we were researchers principally in recent years, we've started to do more and more technical assistance work. And that's where we move policy into action. That's really sort of what we're doing here to support these efforts.
Excuse me, Diana. This is Steve Shook. I just wondered, your audio is breaking up a little bit. If you might see if you can adjust your audio and resume from there.
All right. Give me just one moment for technical. Okay.
Okay. Well, whatever you did just then, it's much better. So I don't know if you may want to start over at the top of the slide.
Sure, I'll try. And I apologize. I'm actually at the workplace, so sometimes it's surprisingly not as reliable as home these days. So I am a senior fellow at the Urban Institute, and a lot of my work has been focused on workforce development. And at the Urban Institute, we are primarily a research organization, but in recent years, we've moved more of that research into action. And that's really sort of this sweet spot and where our work in apprenticeship also rests. And it's really sort of this work has been really exciting because it's really putting these best practices into action. All of the research and evidence suggests that apprenticeship is, as Girish said, this gold standard solution for both apprentices and employers alike, particularly in light of the great resignation that we're seeing these days and how hard it is to find talent and how hard it is for that talent to connect with good opportunities. So as part of our work with South Carolina State University and with Girish, we have been working to advance this degree-based apprenticeship consortium. This this work has been part of a pilot, part of a larger project with the U.S. Department of Labor called the Apprenticeship Expansion and Modernization Fund. And this has allowed us to try innovative pilots like what we're doing with South Carolina State University and with Garish. We have, with their partnership, developed a replicable model for a degree-based software development apprenticeship program. And this pilot, the goal is for this pilot to set a foundation for others and for other consortium schools to expand this model and adopt this model. Am I still clear?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, good, excellent. All right, I'm gonna lean right over my computer and hopefully that will keep helping. So the principal activities of Urban's work has been to connect South Carolina State University with partner employers, because no apprenticeship can happen without partner employers. So we're really delighted that, for example, Robert Half Corporation has just recently signed on to be an employer of record, as well as Integer Technologies is another employer of record who will be hiring apprentices from this consortium of HBCUs. Another goal is to grow this network of HBCUs. So far there are 3 schools committed. We'd like to see this expand beyond these schools in South Carolina, in other states like North Carolina, Virginia, and then beyond, nationwide. Garish is in conversations with other potential partner schools in other parts of the country, for example, right now. Another goal is to provide ongoing technical assistance to this consortium. So, for example, we have developed and registered standards, we've supported the program launch, and we've helped to answer questions and advise on next steps. So we have in-house a team of experts who know how to register programs, who know how to design the standards and design the curriculum-based pieces. So we've been helping to use some of that knowledge and know-how to plug into South Carolina State Universities and Garish's good work in this area. And then we've been advancing the sustainability of this pilot and this consortium model, trying to think about next steps and how this model can keep going and thrive beyond this pilot and beyond. Part of those efforts include creating a toolkit so other schools can access these materials, adopt them for their own use, and then put them into place. Next slide. So some of the innovations and the innovative elements that consist of this program is, and again, Nikunj is going to talk a little bit more about this next, but first it's designed around nice curriculum standards and competencies. So it has at its core the very best practices guiding it. Second, the consortium is creating partnerships between various HBCUs in South Carolina. These partnerships were maybe a little bit more loose before, but now through this process have become more formalized. There's a working group that meets regularly. There is a crosswalk that shows how their different curriculum line up and how these courses can be offered to students across the consortium, but offer them the same educational experience as part of the apprenticeship. Third, and I'll say too, as part of this HBCU piece in this consortium, it allows us to have additional reach to other employers in South Carolina. So these HBCUs aren't necessarily all located in the same areas of South Carolina. So this allows us to create a little bit more expanded opportunities across the consortium for participating apprentices. And then third, because this is a degree-based program, participating apprentices are assured that they not only receive a degree at the end in computer science, but because of this on-the-job learning piece, they also develop a portfolio in the 2+ years of experience that employers seem to want for entry-level jobs. I always have to chuckle a little bit at that because entry-level is now considered having 2 to 3 years of experience. And how can you get that experience if you don't have a job first? So in this whole chicken and egg situation, the apprenticeship allows the apprentices to develop that portfolio and develop those years of experience they need in order to successfully be hired either at their workplace where they're apprenticing or at their next opportunity. Next slide, please. And finally, in the overall scheme, and how this is structured, there's different roles and responsibilities as part of this consortium. So we have different partners, as we discussed. We have the employers, we have the consortium schools, we have Grisha's role as the sort of leader of these efforts, and then Urban Institute providing technical assistance and specific apprenticeship expertise to the mix. So in terms of the first role, South Carolina State University is the Department of Labor Registered Apprenticeship sponsor. So what they do is they ensure that the program is run properly and in accordance with registered apprenticeship program standards that the Department of Labor sets forth. In a consortium model, South Carolina State University shares the information from participating schools and apprentices with the various US DOL representatives. The second role here is the consortium schools. So what they do as part of this work is they attend group meetings, they review course requirements to make sure that they're aligned across the campuses. They ensure that the courses that apprentices need will be offered in the time frame needed. They use existing networks that these schools have to try to reach out and recruit employers to participate and host apprentices. They promote the opportunities to students and recruit students who are sophomores, ideally, to participate. And then they maintain records in accordance with DOL standards, which are then to be shared in terms of participation of apprentices. And then they also continue to offer these courses, which is really important to make sure that these apprentices stay on track. Employers in this arrangement have the responsibility to hire and train and mentor the apprentice, offering on-the-job learning. This is such a key component of apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs. Most of us learn best by doing, and we achieve competencies not because we read them in a book, but because we do them on the job. So having that mentorship and instruction in place on the job is incredibly important. It's always funny to me when we have these conversations with employers and they say, well, I can't possibly take the time out to train my employees. My reaction is, but you should be training your employees already. That should be a core part of what you're doing on the job. And I think this is the fundamental shift that we're going to start to see as this talent sort of, I don't want to use the word crisis, that seems a little bit of an exaggeration right now, but as these hiring challenges become more and more pressing for employers, they will have to start doing more of this training up and building talent from within. So apprenticeship gives them that opportunity within this, very high quality structure that's been established. So at this point, I am going to turn this over to Nikunja, who's going to discuss more of the curriculum side of the program.
Thank you, Dan. So let me describe a little more about me. My name is Nikunja Swai, and I work as the department chair of Computer Science and Mathematics Department at South Carolina State University. And South Carolina State University is the public HBCU in state of South Carolina. That's the only public HBCU in state of South Carolina. We have about 3,000 students enrolled at our institution, and we have strong programs in STEM areas, including computer science, cybersecurity. We do some data sciences work, engineering, and technology. So now I'm going to go over this slide just to go back to the beginning, how it started. So in February 12, 2020, Chris and me started a workforce summit on IT and cybersecurity at South Carolina State University. And that summit was well attended. We have attendees from all over United States, including IBM and NICE and Urban. Diana was also, Dr. Elliott also attended that meeting. So we have about 60 plus people who attended it. Also, we have people, faculty and administrators from South Carolina HBCUs attending this workforce summit. And after the workforce summit, there was a discussion about design and launching a degree apprenticeship pilot, partnering with employers. So we created a core group that included Girish, Diana, and leaders from South Carolina HBCU. For your information, there are 8 HBCUs in South Carolina. 2 of them are 2-year degree granting institutions, and 6 of them are 4-year degree granting institutions. So initially we concentrate on all the institutions, but later we just concentrated on the 4-year degree granting institutions, and the degrees must be in IT, CS, and cybersecurity. And the overall objective was to provide career pathways to HBCU students through degree apprenticeship. And with the leadership of Girish, we conducted a survey of the South Carolina employers to fill the IT and cybersecurity work roles and the challenges the employers are facing. So we are looking at how to fill IT and cybersecurity work role. We received some responses, and I think there are 5 or 8, something like that. And one job which was mentioned frequently was the software development. So we decided to proceed with the software development degree apprenticeship plan. And what we did, we looked at the material already available freely on the web, on the apprenticeship model. And Urban had already done some work. Also, there was work from Girish so in San Antonio and other places. So we took that, and then we look at the NICE framework, National Initiative on Cybersecurity Education. That framework is basically designed for the employers when they are trying to fill the hard-to-fill roles. And we started developing the competency for the secure software developer work role. We met frequently with the core group, at least twice a month, and this process continued. And we also got support from the Urban Institute, and we identified courses, and the courses we identified were common to all HBCUs in the consortium in South Carolina. And we also look at the artifacts for consortium agreement, roles and responsibility. And we just worked on how to select students to the apprenticeship cohorts. Next slide, please. So when we did the mapping of the degree curricula to NICE framework, we look at the work role because ultimate objective is the employer must be able to find skilled workers they need. So in the NICE framework, it is 3 things looked at primarily, that is called knowledge, skills, and abilities. And it is related to the tasks which will be performed in that role, And we know that there are different definitions of knowledge, skills, and abilities, but we borrowed the definitions from NICE framework, and I have a link here on this slide. If you are interested, you can click on that link. Now, just to give you some idea, the NICE framework recently going through a revision. So whatever you see in this link, you may have a revised version of the NICE framework. It is very complex. They're trying to reduce it to make it more user-friendly. So each task in the framework is a specific defined piece of work, competency and observable group of related knowledge, skills, and statement. So taking the knowledge skills together, it will give us the competency. So that was the basic idea. And we use that to formulate or to decide about the courses. Next slide, please. So here is a brief description or brief slide, and it is borrowed from the NICE framework. And we are looking at the entry-level junior developer, and there are a lot of different job descriptions. It is by different employer or different organization. So we just took this job description, which is that when somebody is hiring a junior level software developer, they will be probably doing some routine tasks, debugging, testing, code documentation, and using information from freely available resources, partners from SC, HBCU, and Urban Institute. We derive our knowledge skills for our consortium as shown on the right side of the table. So it resulted in 6 job functions with 11 courses. And if you look at the slide on the right, in the NICE framework, there are total 45 knowledge units. And that includes from entry level to experienced software developer. Because our goal was just to look at the entry level, we just selected a subset of those knowledge units. And in our case, we use only 8. Same way in the NICE framework, you have got 14 skill units. In our case, we just use only 7. And total number of ability units in NICE framework is 5. For our mapping, we use only 4. Looking at the job description or the competency we are trying to do, and because it is entry level, we just use less number of knowledge, skills, abilities for our mapping. Next slide, please. And here is the job function, the 6 job functions we came up with. And again, these are the pilot version of the job functions. But as we start working with the employers, our goal is to modify it as it is needed. So this is very flexible. We're starting with this, but as we get more input, we may try to revise it or reduce it. So we'll see how that works out, So in job function 1, we are saying that participation in the development of a new platform. And here basically the description is collection and analysis of user needs for the development of a new secure software platform by assisting the principal developer and the team. So here, because it is entry-level position, we are just telling that the apprenticeship is going to work with the main people in the organization and develop the skills. They are not going to probably design or develop something in their own. Supporting the development of a new platform. So again, support and designing of a new software platform by assisting the principal developer and the team. And then they can do some modification work to the platform. And again, we are here saying that supports the analysis of performance issues and limitation of an existing platform and identifies need for modification of an existing platform by assisting the principal developer and the team. So those are and then there is a testing and debugging component. I think that's where the first year apprenticeship is going to probably spend more time rather than designing something in their own. And also they will help in the monitoring and maintenance component. And also if needed, they will do some customer support and documentation. So those are the 6 job functions we use to map our degree curricula to NICE framework. Next slide, please. So once we have the job function and we have the mapping, we looked at the courses offered with our consortium schools. And we said that, well, everybody need to have some introductory background in computer science and introductory programming. It can be Java, Python, or any other programming. Also, it will have something introduction to cybersecurity. Then there will be advanced programming. It is building on the introductory programming. We thought because this job will require some work with the machine level, so we say it will be better if they can have some exposure to assembly language programming. And we included the discrete mathematics, networking, network security, software engineering, and management of information security. And if you look at the course title, in parentheses we put a similar title because the titles may change from consortium schools to school. Our goal is to make sure that the content is covered. It doesn't matter what title they are using, so long the content is covered. So that gives the consortium schools a lot of flexibility. So these courses are starting from the freshman year until the senior year. These courses will be distributed in the curriculum. And it's about 11 courses with 33 credit hours and 495 semester hours. Next slide, please. So now, what is the current state of our degree apprenticeship consortium? Like Diane mentioned, we are already registered with Department of Labor with AC State as the sponsor and the lead. We have 3 South Carolina HBCUs who have joined the consortium already: Benedict College, South Carolina State University, and Boris College. Benedict College and Boris College are located in Columbia, South Carolina, which is the capital of South Carolina. And they offer degree programs in cybersecurity and computer science. So that's what we wrote. Program offered is degree program and minors in computer science, cybersecurity. Also, the enrollment in these programs are Benedict is 50, South Carolina State is 85. I'm sorry, there is a typo. The last one is Boris, and we don't have data for Boris. So there is a typo. It should have been Boris instead of Benedict. Then we are expecting that the other 4 HBCUs in South Carolina, Claflin University, Morris College, sorry, the 3 of them, they will be joining the consortium soon. Claflin and Morris, they do attend our monthly meetings. So far, they have not joined, but we are expecting they will join the consortium very soon. They have also BS degree programs in computer science and cybersecurity. Like Diane mentioned, we have industry partners as of today, 2, Integer Technology and Robot Hub. We completed the recruitment of our first apprenticeship cohort. We started a little late. We started sometimes April 1st week because it took us a little longer. And so far we have 4 applicants, and they are from all 3 consortium schools. Next slide, please. So here are the contact information. If you want to contact, you can probably Girish will be the main person to contact. Then you can also email Diane and me if you need. And that's what I have. And I just now give it to Girish. He's going to take over. Thank you.
So are you taking questions now?
Girish, over to you.
Oh, okay, I think there's a question that I was going to, I'll start the question by asking a question to, say, Diana. From the employer's perspective, many of them would say, when we talk about apprenticeship, they say, yeah, we're doing it. And it turns out that what they do is internships. So my question is, Diana, do you think our suggestion would be that there should be a change here, or people continue doing what they're doing, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is a big source of confusion, right? I think people confuse internships with apprenticeships. Internships tend to be very short term. They tend to be unpaid, and they don't always, in fact, I'll say rarely, turn into a long-term opportunity that both the employer and intern benefit from. So, my argument with people who say, well, our internship program is really good, I often say, well, how many people do you hire after that program? You've invested 3 months of time in training them according to various processes. Like, are you happy that you invested that time and you don't see any further returns? I think in this new mode of where we are in the labor market, investing in somebody a little bit more long-term is simply a wise strategy for employers to move beyond the 3-month summer internship thinking to a longer-term engagement that benefits both the employer and the apprentice. Apprentices start to show real productivity on the job at that 3 to 6 month mark. So again, if you think about a typical internship arc, it's right when you would be losing that intern. So I absolutely think that the evidence shows that apprenticeships are the better solution for employers. And it's really easy to convert an internship program to an apprenticeship program. We've done this with a few employers so far.
Yes, excuse me. I'm not sure I'm going to make sense with my question. Maybe it's a problem with my English, but I haven't quite gotten where the internship takes place in the curriculum. I mean, time-wise, at what stage of the curriculum, what year, or is it only in the summers, or it's during, in conjunction with the courses? Do I explain myself on my question?
Yeah, I think so. I can explain sort of generally how internships happen and then generally how apprenticeships happen. So internships are typically summer. So you'll have an undergraduate from an institution or maybe even a graduate student like we have often at Urban Institute who has a free summer in between their courses and they want some on-the-job learning. So they might, and typically in a lot of employers, this is not paid. So they're often doing these internships without compensation. And again, typically in the summer, it's very rare to actually have it during a school year where somebody is taking courses full-time. In contrast, an apprenticeship can happen at various stages. We have some apprenticeship programs where people have been out of the workforce. They've been working in sales or in retail or in hospitality, and maybe they have a degree already, a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree. Maybe they left school because they couldn't afford to go to school and they had to work instead. So what's nice about an apprenticeship is that people can get that on-the-job training, but they also get paid for it. And again, it's that long-term commitment. It's typically a year to 2 years in tech where you have an agreement, provided the apprentice, holds up their end of the bargain and provided the employer holds up their end of the deal as well, where the apprentices can engage over a longer term. Again, they get paid, so it makes it more inclusive of people who might be low income or might have familial responsibilities. And it's a way to engage talent that doesn't typically have that sort of access to a lot of the opportunities that more affluent students have. I'll say that's another big difference between internships and apprenticeships, is who can really afford to take an unpaid internship. It tends to be more affluent students. Who can afford to do an apprenticeship? It's really open to a lot of people because you're paid to learn.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience?
I have a
Steve?
question. So, you know, I know here that the workforce, especially in IT and cyber, is getting more and more remote. And I'm wondering, how is that affecting your apprenticeship program in general? I just wonder, how are people going to learn if they're never co-located? Although we are learning a lot today, so.
Girish, do you want me to take that one? I can offer some examples of what we've seen, if that helps. So at Urban, again, we're coming off the heels of doing this 3-year tech apprenticeship intermediary, of which this is a small part, an innovation pilot. But we've been working with the employers over the last 3 years to ramp up programs, to start new programs in apprenticeship. And what we've seen is that nobody in tech skipped a beat when the pandemic happened. All of our apprenticeship programs figured out way to make the learning virtual. If people needed a computer, they got them a computer. They were able to have online learning sessions like this and co-working, situations that were virtual. So it was really impressive to see how quickly people were able to pivot their experiences. Now, that said, some of the employers did start pulling the apprentices back in for periodic, face-to-face time. And now there are some employers, and I'll say it tends to not be the tech employers, but for example, big banks that employ tech employees want them to have FaceTime or want them to be in the office, maybe a little bit more than companies that are tech, across the board.
I wonder, the good job, we had that this morning. The good job, the employer was in Virginia, and we were having the apprenticeship here in South Carolina. You want to add something to that?
Yeah.
What Diana said?
Yeah. I think the virtual, having a apprenticeship virtually, I think everything has changed now. Even in COVID time, almost every class went virtual. And those are technical classes. And we are still able to provide them with the knowledge and experience. And the other component with this apprenticeship is the apprenticeship is not working alone. The university, if somebody is an apprenticeship from my department, I am always working with him, or my faculty is always working with him or her. So if the employer is giving a task to the apprenticeship virtually, the apprenticeship is always discussing that thing with the professor at the school. And we have built in periodical bi-weekly meetings, presentations with the employer and the faculty. So that way we feel that the virtual part is not going to be that much a problem. And on the top of that, we are saying that in summertime, when the apprenticeship is not taking any courses in its curriculum, they are free to go to the employer facility and work there for 3 months. So when you factor all of these things together, I think the virtual nature is not going to be a problem. That will be more advantageous to the apprenticeship because it is a earn and learn model. So if I am working, taking 15 credit hours of coursework, At the same time, I am traveling to the employer premises to do my work every day or twice or thrice a week. That may be a little difficult for the student. So the virtual thing may be helpful from another point of view on this apprenticeship model. And I would also like to address the other question asked by Fernando, that where they get this knowledge. Usually the theoretical knowledge will be given in the classroom. That's why we have 11 courses. They will be taking other courses and some sort of laboratory hands-on experience. But the real skills will be given in the employer, working with the employer in all semester wise. Internship just stops in the summer, usually. In some cases, some internship, they work with the employer throughout the year, but usually 99%, summer is over, you are back in your curriculum, you have little contact. But here in apprenticeship, it is always going on throughout the semester, throughout the year, you know. So I think that's a big plus when you look at the model, you know.